quelqu'un? Bonjour. Selon le Parti vert du Canada, Elizabeth May, chef du Parti vert. Mon collègue Mike Morris, aujourd'hui, il travaille dans sa circonscription. I want to make a couple of comments because I'm deeply saddened, angered, shocked by the latest so-called new target put forward by Minister Steven Guilbeault on climate action. I was there for every minute of negotiating the Paris Agreement. I know it like the back of my hand. I think they've just violated the Paris Agreement. The Paris Agreement calls for every party to the agreement to the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change to put forward a new target every 5 years. And specifically, and if you want to look it up under Article 4, every target put forward by a country must be a progression above its current target. In other words, the targets are referred to in the Paris Agreement as nationally determined contributions. We tabled our first one under Stephen Harper. It took the Liberals years, 7 years in fact, to toughen the target over what Harper had left behind. The last nationally determined contribution put forward, which was put forward under Prime Minister Trudeau's administration, was that Canada would reduce our emissions 40 to 45% below 2005 levels by 2030. We were under enormous pressure at the time by recently elected Joe Biden's administration to go to 50%, the U.S. target, 50% below 2005 by 2030. The most they could push Canada to do was 40 to 45%. I know these numbers become mind-boggling, but what we just announced today was that we would go, instead of 40 to 45% below 2005 levels by 2030, we'd go 45 to 50% below 2005 levels by 2035. Now, if we work from experience, which I think is a good thing to do, we know that before the ink was dry on our commitment, the entire bureaucracy in the Government of Canada dropped the dash to 45% and only talked about the 40%. If we do that again, that means that we're talking about 45% below 2005 levels by 2035. We are already committed to reach up to 45% below 2005 levels by 2030. So adding 5 years to get to the low end of that range is not a progression. It is arguably weakening. So je suis déçue de découvrir que le gouvernement de Canada, le gouvernement de M. Trudeau et de mon ancien collègue, l'ancien militant écolo Steven Guilbeault, a fait une décision de rendre un cible pour notre position sur le changement climatique plus faible que le dernier cible dans l'accord de Paris. I'm happy to answer any questions, but we knew they were short of reaching their target. When you're short of reaching your target on a legally binding agreement, you do more to reach your target. You don't play with the numbers and fiddle with the agreement and play fast and loose with legal commitments.
Yeah, just on sort of Guilbeault's sort of justification for these new targets, that they're ambitious but achievable. Is that?
They're neither. They're achievable if you do a whole lot more, and I don't see this government doing a whole lot more. And obviously, much less do I see Mr. Poilievre doing anything. That's the Liberals' only fig leaf in all of this, is that Poilievre would be worse. But I'm absolutely, when we see the climate events, one after the other, knocking the hell out of our economy, savaging communities, losing people's homes, losing people's lives, and this is what we do. We weaken our target. Maybe we think that since Trump is in the White House, we can just give up on everything. But I don't give up, and it's time to fight like hell for our own children and our grandkids.
On ne vous a pas entendu depuis la rencontre de M. Trudeau avec les chefs de parti sur la stratégie à prendre pour les tarifs que Donald Trump va imposer. Quand vous regardez ce plan là, qui pourrait être chiffré à plus d'1 milliard de dollars pour protéger les frontières, est-ce que ça vous encourage?
Oui, oui, je pense que c'est la question pour notre réponse à M. Trump. Je pense que les efforts pour l'augmentation de sécurité de notre frontière, c'est les bonnes planifications, ce n'est pas un problème. Pour moi, le plus grand problème, c'est que les États-Unis a l'exportation illégale des armes à feu, des drogues aussi, qui sont entrées du Canada sur la frontière des États-Unis. Alors, je pense que le plan maintenant pour répondre à M. Trump, c'est possible que ça marche, mais je pense que M. Trump n'est pas quelqu'un raisonnable, mais on doit faire nous devons faire nos possibles.
Donc, vous croyez qu'on doit aussi s'attaquer aux armes qui rentrent au Canada des États-Unis? Ça doit faire partie du plan?
Oui, oui, oui. Et c'est un grand problème parce que dans la période de M. Harper, les forces de notre frontière sont diminuées et nous avons un plus grand problème avec, particulièrement dans le cas d'armes à feu, pardonnez-moi le mot en français pour handguns. Illegal handguns mostly enter Canada from the United States, and we need to do more to stop that. Under Mr. Harper, he really liked the idea that CBSA agents were there to find and catch people who might not have their complete citizenship organized. There was an increase in deportation of people snatched whose paperwork wasn't right and shipped them out. They even had a reality TV show tracking CBSA agents throwing people out of Canada. Je pense que c'est un effort de propagande, ce n'est pas un vrai effort pour la sécurité pour notre frontière, mais la frontière a deux forces pour sécurité. La frontière entre les États-Unis et le Canada, les deux pays ont la responsabilité de garder leurs frontières. Les États-Unis, puis aussi le Canada, pour protéger les citoyens de notre deux pays comme voisins, comme bons voisins.
Sort of just to keep on the border, coupling this with, I guess, what happened at the leaders meeting last week, and then what we've seen since the premier's meeting last night with Ford coming out and threatening, I guess, to withhold energy. I don't know if that means hydro, what that means, but and then
Oh, it should mean oil.
I don't know how much oil Ford has, but we then
Well,
on
Canada
that note,
has a lot, and we ship most of it to the United States.
But on that note, we had Premier Smith coming out saying she's going to create a new, I guess, border force. I don't know if this is a good cop, bad cop thing that they're doing comparing with what Freeland and LeBlanc were, but how do you see this sort of...
I think, I really do believe, as much as I'm enraged by the hypocrisy from the Liberals on climate, there are many things the Liberals do that I can't support. But I am really absolutely, as leader of the Green Party of Canada, in support of us pulling together as a country, Équipe Canada, Team Canada. I didn't think I'd ever find myself thinking, you go, Doug. But when I see Doug Ford, say, okay, so maybe we'll hold our energy. It's best that we stick together. It's best that we not freelance. It's best that we say to Mr. Trump, we're listening. We hear you. What I hear is a man who doesn't understand trade deficits. He converts a trade deficit into giving us money. If we succeed in selling them more things than they sell us, that doesn't mean they're giving us money. I find it baffling that anyone who claims to have an education in anything like business, as Mr. Trump claims he has, could think that the United States is handing over billions of dollars subsidizing Canada and Mexico. You think he'd be embarrassed to say something that displays such ignorance of the way of how you interpret a trade deficit. But in any case, we need to be prepared. We need to take him seriously. A 25% tariff on all Canadian goods exported to the United States would be devastating for our economy and for jobs. And I think that as leaders gathered in that room, Monsieur Blanchet, who is never accused Yves-François Blanchet of being a nationalist, except for Quebec. But we're on the same page. We have to protect Canada's economy and Canada's jobs from Trump's threats. And certainly Mr. Singh and Mr. Blanchet and I were very happy to say we're going to do whatever we can to support a Team Canada approach.
I'm noticing a specific name of those leaders you didn't met?
I think Mr. Poilievre, to be charitable, he may be on the fence about it. Thank you. Merci.